It's so beautiful, so beautiful. What a wonderful corset you have on.
Thank you. I tried to
Nice.
match for you.
Oh, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here with a CBT artist. Yeah, with a CBT artist. See, we're going to talk about things. We're going to talk about CBT. For those who don't know, look it up. Please be ready. Prepare yourself. Grasp. Be prepared for a magnificent woman, a powerful woman, a woman with a very, very loyal following. And she has put the fear in me. Not, I don't want my balls tortured. But we're gonna learn all about it. Please bow down. Bow down. We show utmost respect to the magnificent Miss Sweet. Say hello, Miss Sweet. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. And you're talking me up so much. Thank you. Just stroking that
Yeah.
ego.
Well, I can't stroke anything because I'm in chastity, but I'm pumped. So,
Oh, you poor thing.
yeah. So please tell me, what is inspiring you these days?
What inspires me these days is ultimately doing what I enjoy and giving back to the community.
And what do you enjoy, and how are you giving back to the community?
Um, I enjoy a plethora of things. I consider myself a pretty heavy edge player. Um, as far as giving back to the community, I've been conducting classes at local events here. Oh, hi. Um, I've been conducting classes at local events here at the DFW Dungeon specifically, as well as I was a demo bottom briefly for Danorama at Bondage Expo Dallas, and that was lots of fun. These were completely volunteer, no payment, and I'll occasionally post some videos to help some of my peers understand different techniques, especially a recent one I did for needle.
Let's just get into it. Go right for the balls. All right, CBT. You're a CBT artist. Please tell us, what is a CBT artist? What is your definition of a CBT artist?
Um, my definition of a CBT artist, I not only uh, employ CBT in a lot of my play, but I create a very artistic form of CBT. I make it aesthetically pleasing, not just the physical stimulation of it. A lot of people are more driven towards something if it looks nice and pretty, not just horrendous and macabre.
I noticed that, especially a lot of kink, it's taking something that could be horrific to some people and making it beautiful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So how do we make? It's okay. You have a set of balls and you have a cock. And you have every implement in the world in front of you. How do you make that beautiful?
Um, it takes a lot of creativity, I suppose, and it depends on what implements I'm given permission to employ on said person. I have people who enjoy needle play or hooks in their testicles, and that is very different in an aesthetically pleasing display from, say, doing cock and ball bondage. And that can be done very pretty, but you have to create it in a way where it's neat and clean and refined versus just chaos.
Yes, neat, clean, and refined, as opposed to chaos. So, all right, let's go through the steps. First of all, you got to find someone who's willing to have their cock and balls tortured, obviously. And I'm sure you have a line out the door, right? So first of all, what makes a good subject, a good sub?
Can you please clarify that question?
Specifically for cock and ball torture.
For filming and photography,
In
or just
general,
my
we're not even there yet. We're not even there yet. Let's say photography, filming, that's down the line. I'm talking someone who doesn't have any experience, or someone who you have no experience with, and you just want to make sure that they're up to snuff, so to speak.
I would say devotion,
Okay.
a touch of masochism, and a strong sense of curiosity as to what may please them and bring them to new heights.
Devotion,
Yes.
a touch of masochism, and a strong sense of what was it? The creativity?
Curiosity.
Curiosity. Oh yeah, curiosity. We have some questions. Oh, we didn't even get to that yet, but it's here. Amar Al, hello, Miss Sweet. How many slaves do you have?
Personal or professional?
Let's go personal. Let's go personal.
Personal, I have only two.
Oh,
I
okay.
like to keep a small house.
Yeah, well, two good ones are much more important than a bunch of.
Conversing with one.
I said two good ones are much more better than a bunch of useless ones. So
yeah, quality over quantity.
And the professional slaves?
Oh goodness, that's countless.
That's the spirit. We got some more questions. Spike Chase to T asks, hello, Miss Sweet. Would you mind telling us about the origin of your interest in CBT? How did you find it? Your first experience?
Oh, that's kind of a dark one. I was the age of 15. Huh?
Oh, I said, please tell. I mean, we love stories here.
CBT is actually one of my very first kinks. It started at the age of 15. My first experience was with ball busting. I used it as a self-defense mechanism, kicking a boy in the balls, and found out that I really enjoyed it in his response, although he had a different response from the general public. I suppose it was an epiphany of a dual-sided kink there.
So what was the response of the general public?
The general public does not typically enjoy ball busting, whereas this particular boy immediately had a hard on.
Okay. T says, hi, Miss Sweet. Looking awesome today. Great outfit.
Thank you.
What's it?
Scaroused.
Scaroused? Is that how it's pronounced?
Scaroused. That's
and base. What is it?
Scaroused. That's actually one of the boys. So I use the term scaroused, which is a mixture between scared and arousal. Oftentimes, a lot of folks feel that way around me, especially with a lot of my creative ideas that I come up with.
Scaroused. I'm definitely going to use that in the summary. We got Inertia Force says, Miss Sweet is gorgeous.
Thank you.
Dan Vladimir says, what is your specialty when it comes to CBT? Your personal signature that's different from the rest?
Oh, needles. Needles, staples, hooks. It's blood play mixed with CBT, turning into a slightly more med-vet and blood player type style of CBT versus just ball busting and stuff like that, although those are all things I do enjoy.
Nice. people, I can see people just loving this. Amir Ali also got us. Should I bow? And what shoes you got on? Okay. Inertia. Oh, wait. Here we go.
Huh? There you go.
Inertia Force asks, hello, Miss Sweet. Do your slaves prefer leather or metal restraints? Fuck the slaves. Do you prefer leather or metal restraints?
I actually deeply enjoy both. That was one of the classes that I demoed with Danorama, was on heavy metal bondage. And although I do greatly enjoy metal, I love shiny. I employ a lot of shiny things in my videos. Leather has a bit more versatility for me.
All right. When it comes to the creativity, you're a creative person. I sense that in
Absolutely.
you. I love that. I love the creativity of kink. So when it all right, with cock and ball torture, how can we get creative? Or let me back up. What is some of the most creative cock and ball torture you have seen recently?
From my peers or from myself?
Both, either, or whatever.
I love watching my peers utilize cock and ball torture for predicament play. As for myself, I'm greatly enjoying doing hook pulls and needle pulls and making it look like a spider's web around a boy's cock and balls.
Spider web. Do you use when it comes to needles? Do you use the colors, the various different colors, for your design? And do you have a favorite?
Um, I use the different colors because they're different gauges when it's on other parts of the body, usually. Sometimes you'll see me ladder different colors on the cock and balls, but
Mhm.
because they are very different gauges and some boys become so engorged with blood, it's just not safe to use thicker gauge needles on those boys.
Yeah. Now let's go back to you first kicking kid in the balls for in self defense. So you said you got this feeling, but it was more the feeling you got from their reaction. So how would
Oh,
you describe it in a
I
couple words? How would you
absolutely get off
describe that?
on people's reactions.
Oh, of course, yeah, I know it accentuates everything. So, but just a couple of words, how would you describe how you felt when you saw that reaction, when you realized you had that power?
I I not only felt like I had power and control over their body, but I enjoyed how it made me feel to make them hurt in a consensual way.
Mm, okay.
I don't
Stand by.
enjoy inflicting pain without consent being involved.
Good. I'm glad you said that. It must be said, actually.
Sadist.
Uh, yeah, this is all consensual people. We're not just going around the street just torturing, cock and balls. We're not just going to the supermarket and doing that. We're meeting people and we're having consensual relationships. All right.
Yeah,
Stan
some of
Vladimir
the
says,
vanillas that hear about what I do think it's otherwise. Like I just run around with a staple gun or something.
what? Stan Vladimir said, even though there's a lot of pain involved, how do you manage to keep it safe? Have you had medical training?
Actually, I have an associate's in biology and I've gone to medical school. I am still finishing up my bachelor's. I have also apprenticed under a tattoo artist and learned different procedures and safety points there. I've also just done a lot of research and classes and training.
It's I find it funny that you've done all this training, and I have done this training too, in the sense that I was a patient. I had a liver transplant, so I was engulfed, and I had to get my education quick. I wish I paid attention more in anatomy and physiology when I took it in college. That's for sure. So, with this education that you have, how has that changed your outlook towards cock and ball torture, as opposed to somebody who just likes doing CBT?
Well, I also did anatomy and physiology. It was one of my very favorite classes.
A lot of
And
memorization.
understanding the way the body works and how different sensations relate to the brain really helped with all of that.
Definitely, it definitely does. There is a background. There's a slight lag, everybody. So please bear with us. Let me ask you this, Miss Sweet. You've tortured a lot of balls and
Yes.
cocks, right? Let's just put a number onto it. Estimate. How would you say? How many?
How many?
Yeah.
Ooh. Well, that's about 17 years of how many?
Yeah.
So I would say, because I was a lifestyle dom and at one point switch before becoming a pro, I would say we're somewhere around 500 cocks and balls.
500. Everyone else out there, they're lacking. They got to catch up, and they'll never catch up. They'll never catch up to Mrs. Sweet. She's a legend, everybody.
One of
All
them
right.
work
So,
average, to be fair.
Miss Sweet, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Why do men like it? Why do you feel men like it?
Well, there's different aspects to cock and ball torture that drive different people for different reasons. There's a more sensual side to cock and ball torture that a lot of people don't talk about. And then the more heavy side of cock and ball torture, it's usually a sense of devotion for them as well as pain and pleasure receptors.
Yes, I can identify with that. Although I'm not a fan of the cock and ball torture, but I am a fan of femdom and ownership. And
Yes.
the I understand it. Let me put it that way. I really do understand the fact that um, someone has this power over you, and they could do anything they want. Do it, you know what I mean? Which is fascinating to me, at least. So let's get
I
back to
can
the
give an
question.
example.
Please do.
So the boy that is seen in a lot of my films, I've been working with for about 3 years now. And I would say he's a pain slut, not a masochist. But I get him to do a lot of very extreme shit just because he's devoted to me and he trusts me. And trust is a huge factor in all of this.
Yeah, I like to think that we put the bond in bondage, people in this community, Um, that's it's pretty wild. So let's get back to the questions. Misconception, right? Everyone, I tell people that I'm going to interview a CBT artist. I get various reactions. Some people I know are like, "That's cool. That's why they're fascinated with it. They need to know." They even though they're not into it, some people love it, but some people are disgusted by it, fear it, like you say.
Yeah.
So what are the misconceptions? What are the major misconceptions people have of you being a CBT artist?
A lot of people fear and misconstrue that I'm going to essentially castrate people or cause any permanent damage or severe harm. And although those are risks, especially with the more extreme side of CBT, it's not what is an intention. A lot of people also misconstrue that CBT is purely pain, and it's not. I've noticed a lot of people really enjoy ball stretching and don't see that as a painful experience. It's more of the massaging and playing with the balls.
Okay, and then we have let's talk about safety.
Sure.
Obviously, we got to talk about safety. So, what are some of the major mistakes people make when they're just starting out? They're just getting, people get to frenzy when they get kinky, right? They get to frenzy. They want to jump into it. They get very impulsive. But cock and ball torture is something that you have to be, as dangerous as it is, there's a safety issue to it. So what are some mistakes that you've made, some mistakes that people make, and some ways that we could be safe?
Um, I haven't made the atypical mistakes that I've seen other people do. But one major mistake that does have to do with the cock and balls is I decided to drink and kink, which was before I understood that to be a huge no-no, and I haven't done it since. I was a very young adult at the time. But I
I've done
decided
it.
to pull
I'm not
out a
proud of it.
finger on my friend with their consent while we were all drunk on screwdrivers made with Everclear. And I wrapped around and hit him in the balls.
The Everclear and ball busting is not a good mix.
No,
I cannot imagine that ever turning out well, ever.
no, flogging turned into ball busting, and it was not fun. And for mistakes I have seen other people make
Yeah.
is where they're kicking with ball busting or what
Okay.
shoes they're wearing and getting that risk awareness with what they're doing. They're completely lacking in risk awareness before they're doing stuff. I've seen people skewer balls, which is insanely dangerous, and you can cause sterilization as well as potential death.
I've talked to people who do that, and I don't want that to happen to me.
Yeah,
Simple as that. Simple as
that
that.
is outside of my risk profile.
So, okay, we got some more questions. Stan Vladimir asks the Stan question: Miss Sweet, if you could have any superpower, what would it be, and how would you use it in your kink life?
Oh goodness. I would say telepathy because I come across a lot of folks that are too scared to communicate. And it would greatly help if I could read their minds.
That's a good one. It's a very good answer. And T asks, Miss Sweet, is is the best when it comes to kicking ball, or I guess what is Miss Sweet is the best when it comes to kicking balls and ball busting. When it's mutual fun, Miss Sweet laughs. Oh, great. You like to bring humor into it, which is wonderful because it is funny. If you think about it, kicking someone in the balls is funny. Whenever I was at the movie theater with like my grandparents, something like that, anyone who got kicked in the balls, everyone laughed. So I'm sure you laugh at them too. Now, do you say anything? That's the thing. Do you have a saying when you kick someone in the balls, or do you say something badass after you kick them in the balls, or before you kick them in the balls? What do you say?
Something I have absolutely said, which draws into the line of what that person is saying and humor, is it sounds like the cracking of a whip.
Ah, yeah.
I have history with kickboxing and I train in Krav Maga.
Nice.
So I don't throw whips. I don't like the bull whips or the snake whips or anything like that. Floggers are as far as I go with that, or dragon tails. But it legitimately sounds like the cracking of a whip when I kick someone in the balls.
You are also a blood fiend, correct?
Yes.
A
Yes.
blood fiend. Now, there's been first of all, let's talk about I understand people's fascination with blood. It's very deep and complicated. It's symbolic. It's physical. It works on so many levels. But why does it work for you?
It's primal.
Okay, please explain.
It's primal. It's like I just drew blood upon my prey before I tear into them. That kink I can date back starting watching vampire horror films and just being enamored with it. That was also one of my very first kinks.
Oh yeah. There's I was when I was preparing for this interview. Yeah, I love movies. And there's a Vincent Gallo movie called Trouble Every Day. I don't know if you ever heard about it. It's about two people they're kind of like vampires, but they're not. They're like blood orgies, basically, or they like to have sex and blood. And also, there's another one called the Sweet Blood of Jesus, Spike Lee movie, which is a remake of Ganja and Hess, which is a vampire movie, and it's basically an addiction for blood. It's not like it's more geared towards that. It's not a typical vampire thing. I highly check it out. It's interesting. So talk about blood play. After bloodlust. Now, when it comes to certain fetishes, right? When it comes to certain fetishes, it it becomes controlling of you. Like sissies and cross dressing. The fabric becomes like you almost need it. It becomes like something. Do you ever have a bloodlust when it comes to blood play? Because I've met some people who love blood orgies so much that it's like that's all they can think about. Like once they started doing that, they're like, oh, you're not. That's what you're into now. So, do you ever have a bloodlust? Did it ever come across?
I do get a little bit of a bloodlust, and I keep it very controlled in a safe environment with specific boys that I work with. I don't consume their blood or anything like that. I haven't done that in years. But it's that you feel safe to draw a certain amount of blood with those people. You know how far is okay and safe, and they're willing to go. And they are more than content to let you just play with it.
Yeah.
Like finger painting on them with their blood and stuff like that. I also have a female play partner that I do that with.
Do you when you're preparing for a blood play scene or anything like that? What do you do to prepare the body? Not, I mean, I'm sure you have medical stuff ready, obviously alcohol, gauze, and stuff like that. But what else do you do to prepare for it?
They need to be well hydrated. They need to not have consumed any NSAIDs or drugs or alcohol at least 24 hours prior. And I mean, of course, there's the safety practices of cleaning the area with isopropyl alcohol and switching your gloves and all of that. But a lot of people forget the fact that you need to remain hydrated. And that's the case for a lot of kinks, not just blood play.
Yeah. So we're getting into kinks and fetishes that are a little dark, but there are some kinks and fetishes that are a little fun and wacky, like clowns. But the clowns can also be dark and sinister as well. So you love clowns.
Yes.
Right? You love clowns. So where do you fall with the dark? Would you fall in the happy clown, or do you fall with the murderous, sinister clown?
I'm a bit more sinister. I love using clowns for fear play specifically. I do enjoy your more traditional clown play, but with a slightly scarier aesthetic of a clown. When I dress up as a clown, it's a bit between a Perot and a Harlequin.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. I like the Harlequin makeup a lot.
Do you remember around 10 years ago? I remember I was doing a tour. No, maybe it's 6 years ago. Maybe I was doing a tour for Your Kinky Friends, and the book. I have a book called Your Kinky Friends, and I remember I was interviewing with Amy Mercury, who's from Pep Love. Shout out to Amy Mercury. She does clown porn, and she wants her clown porn to be happy. She wants to make balloon animals and stuff like that. She doesn't want to, creep people out. But at this time, right? At this time, where she's trying to genuinely have a good time and do stuff with clown stuff. At this time in the news, clown sightings, creepy clown sightings were happening all over the country. Like they were just like people just like a clown just like staring at the front lawn. It was like captured on someone's cam, door cam or something like that. They're like, what is this? They call the cops. You don't remember that at all? It happened.
Do. A lot of people started becoming afraid of clowns around then. Which is unfortunate because clowns are fantastic. I even have a clown doll collection.
So you fall for the creepier loving. Now, I love film. You love clowns.
Yeah.
Any films that kind of any clowns in BDSM and film that like kind of go hand in hand? For example, one thing would be House of a Thousand Corpses. It's a horror movie. But Sid Haig plays this evil, weird, fucking dirty clown that's sadistic and wild, and and like that. Anything sticks out in your mind? Any specific clown besides the Harlequin clown or anything like that?
Not within kink, but within horror. which for
Okay.
me is a form of kink.
Oh yeah.
I absolutely love Mr. Jingles or Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space. The Dickies did the soundtrack for that. That movie creeped me out. Even when I was like all hardcore into horror movies. Like I'm past the Chainsaw Massacre. I'm a kid. I'm like in middle school, and then you know, I'm like a punk rock kid. I think I'm all badass. Killer Clowns from Outer Space comes out, right? And it's a silly movie. It's clowns, but still, it's creepy. It's a creepy ass movie. Come on, as funny as silly as it is, it is. We got some questions. Gary 123, Miss, do you love barefoot ball busting?
Is that a statement of his or a question?
Yes. And then is barefoot ball busting painful, Miss Gary? Yes, 123. It is painful.
It also depends on how hard you're hitting.
That's true. Rogue 3, can a drunk mistress be more cruel?
A drunk mistress is an unsafe mistress.
That's true. That's true. Stan Vladimir, which clown do you think is more scary, Pennywise or the Joker?
I am not a fan of the Joker. He gives me very strong predator vibes in a not good sense. I think Pennywise, with his ability to shapeshift because he is an alien and having all these other powers, is a bit more scary than a psychopath that likes to paint his face.
Yeah. Rogue 3 says politicians are more scary than clowns. And for a segue from politicians, let's talk about you being an anal fanatic. Right? So you are a self-professed anal fanatic. What does being an anal fanatic entail?
One of my biggest kinks is penetration as a whole, as you have seen with some sides of CBT and blood play, where I'm sticking things into people. With anal play, that's not much different. It's just a lot more sensual.
It's funny that made me think of something that happened today, and I think that fear and your butt go hand in hand. You know what I mean? Or just feet, not your butt, but fear and butts go hand in hand. So today, I was locked to chastity today. I had to clean. I had to be a maid, basically. They clean the house for my queen. And I haven't done anything. I haven't ejaculated in 2 days or something like that. Right? All she does bends me over, and it was the fear. It was the fear that she was going to put something in my butt or peg me or a butt plug or something. She didn't, but we've done it before. It's not, but it's not something we do every day, but it was that fear. Right. And it was the anal the fear of that made me come in my cage right there. Seriously, like that hard, like, so yes, an anal fanatic, the butt is a powerful thing. With that being said,
It's a strong sense of vulnerability that boys have to endure in order to allow someone to penetrate their ass, even with just a finger.
true. So Saint Kate West from Sunday Service, friend of the show, has a question that I ask all the time. Why do you think men are so obsessed with their own assholes?
Because that's their baby. That's what they get to hide away from the world. They call it where the sun don't shine for a reason. And for them, it's part of their body. They're all hard and willing to penetrate other people, but to be penetrated is just way too vulnerable for a lot of guys until they become more comfortable within their own sexuality and are able to trust someone in order to play with their booty.
Rogue 3 said it best. Politicians are more scary than clowns. You can take that either way. Get it? Anyway, so okay. What advice would you give to somebody who's struggling with their own sexuality when it comes to anal play? A lot of people that I know, they're kinky people, but they're scared of pegging, they're scared of butt plugs, they're scared of anything to do with anal because it's either a health reason, a homosexuality reason, just some kind of reason, right? So basically, what are some ways that you deal with the stigma of, especially people come to you and they're virgins and they're scared. They're like, oh, I'm this, I don't want to be this, or what do you tell them? How do you tell them to deal with the stigma of it?
Well, first of all, it's not gay if it's a woman doing it. She's not actually using a cock. She's using a toy. And calling it a toy versus calling it a cock or a dick or a dildo or whatever helps to make it less scary in the way that you think about it. And then I had a conversation yesterday, ironically, about lubrication and what kinds of lube to use, or if you have to use lube and stuff like that. And a lot of people don't understand that you have to use a lot of lube when it comes to play. I go through so much lube. I'm sure Amazon knows exactly what I'm up to.
I'm going to put that as a quote. I go through so much lube. I'm sure Amazon knows what I'm up to. All right. We got to push through this because it's burning the time. We're burning through time here. And you like flames, don't you?
I do.
You're a flame wielder, aren't you?
Yes.
Please.
I absolutely love fire play.
Tell us all about it.
What?
I said, tell us all about it. Why do you love fire play? What do you do with fire play? How do you love fire?
So I practice fire moose, fire wands, and fire cupping, as well as cell popping. I am still currently learning how to do fire flogging. I know how to make fire floggers. These are all different skills I have picked up from one of the best fire players in the Dallas area. I was fortunate for them to take me under their wing and mentor me and such.
Now, safety is always an issue with fire play, especially with dungeons. You know, there's other people involved. There's close quarters and everything like that. So what are some of the first things that we have to do when we're approaching any kind of fire play at all?
It depends on the type of fire play, but you always want to have damp towels around, a fire extinguisher. You need to know your first aid. You need to understand what your partner wants to do in the case of emergency, and how to deal with emergency responses, as well as typically you would have an envelope or something of their medical information to give to emergency services in the case that happens. You also keep your fuel separate from your flame.
Have you ever had any close calls where you or somebody else literally had to put out a fire and like, oh, that could have went wrong, like really bad?
I personally haven't, but we had a recent issue that happened here in Texas that has created a spark in continued education towards fire play with a lot of the fire players out here, wanting to help the community out and learning the safety procedures and how to take care of things in case of something happening, as well as how to prevent that from happening.
Okay. Now, we'll bounce around a bit, but you said Texas. You're in Texas. Shout out to Nico. Yeah. Nico Noir and the Commandant, who are also in Texas. And, oh my God, Carly DeVille in Texas as well. How would you describe the Texas kink scene?
The Texas kinks?
The kink scene, the BDSM community in Texas.
It is very different from like say Portland, Oregon, which is where I originated from before here. I would say there's a lot of more riggers. They're more open out there with their classes. There's a lot of people that are heavy into gangbangs. And ironically, all throughout the South, they are all about their asses.
Okay. Yeah, they're about asses here too in Jersey, but yeah, South. Okay, I like
Yeah.
that. We have
It's
some
funny
questions.
because there's stigma towards it.
Sunshine has a question. Good evening, Miss Sweet. What is your favorite anal lube or other lube?
Well, I use a lot of lube. I would have to say I really enjoy J Lube, especially if I'm going to do anal fisting or use an ovipositor. If I'm just doing regular pegging, I will go for Fave or Shibari for their water-based lubes. I've also seen my peers use Crisco for anal fisting. Please do not use that for the vagina.
Good point. Good note. Amir Shaw says, "Hi, Miss Sweet. Do you enjoy extreme sadistic femdom? If yes, please tell us what is the most sadistic thing you have ever done?"
Huh. Yes, I do. The most extreme I have done recently was use a scalpel on a glance penis on a boy. And he was begging for more. I refused to do more because of safety.
Oh yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. No.
Huh?
Okay. So we got some questions. We have this. Aaron asks you about your very, very first session. So take us back to your very first
My very first session.
professional session. Yes.
Okay. It was during the time of virtual domination, which was the very beginning of my professional life. I was on Chatterbait and FetLife, and my very first session was instructing a boy on how to jerk himself off, as well as how to tie his balls and punch his balls. And then I had one very shortly after where I had him sit upside down and jerk off, giving himself a facial.
Ah.
That was fun.
So this whole lifestyle that you're in now, or that we're in now, it started from somewhere, and even that domination, that professional domination, started from somewhere. How did it start? Like, what piqued your interest? Like, was it a friend? Was it a lover? Was it film and movies, song? Was it just something that you wandered into, or something that you sought out specifically?
With
Kink in general, with the
in general,
lifestyle, the community.
so it started with film for some of my fetishes, and some were more
Me too.
happenstance. With blood playing clowns, it was definitely more film based, whereas with choking and ball busting, it was more by happenstance. I was absolutely a tomboy as a teenager, and I would wrestle around with the boys, and things just happen that way. And you find out, oh, this is a happy thing for me.
I just happened to bust his balls. It just happened that way. My foot just landed right in his testicles.
Well, after that one, there was a relationship with that person, and that was a conversation that they did, in fact, enjoy that. So it wasn't just one-sided.
One thing. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So you were talking about film when it comes to clowns and blood play, but can anyone out there think of a good film that does ball busting justice? It's an assignment for anyone out there. What about you?
Yes.
Any films that you're like, yeah.
Deadpool. Deadpool does
Which
ball
one?
busting some justice.
Does it? Okay. All right. That's good to know.
You see,
I saw Deadpool in the
a
theater.
couple different moments about it, and you also see pegging.
Yes, that's true. You see pegging. I remember that.
Happy
We
International
actually,
Women's Day.
yes, that's what we're say. Okay, IDK says, I know this interview is about CBT. It's not just about that, but do you have any female slaves? If any, what are some of the cruel and sadistic things you have done to them or to their cunts just like CBT?
Oh,
Uh,
I absolutely have done terrible, awful things to cunts, not just to cocks and balls.
Please.
I have one gal that I see, and I have put a pussy clamp on her and then proceeded to put 18 gauge needles through her labia majora that was sticking out of the pussy clamp. And I strummed it with my finger.
That's a
I
nice
put a
Saturday.
little Lego guy inside so he looks like he's in jail.
The Commandant graces us. The magnificent Commandant is howdy from Dallas, friends. Yes, definitely another Texas per Texan that you and Nico, all three of you should hook up. It'd be wonderful. And then everybody should pay. All right, let's get back to you. We did the first session. All right, sadism. This is a question. I didn't write this, but it's an effective question. Sadism. Why?
I would say it creates not only a sense of euphoria, but I call them brain fireworks, where it's just all these wonderful explosions that go on inside my brain whenever I hurt, not harm, hurt someone.
Okay, we're going down the line. This is so great. There's
All
so
the
much
happy
to
brain chemicals.
what?
I said all of the happy brain chemicals.
Yes, all of the happy brain chemicals. Okay, there's so much to ask you because I'll never have this. I may never have this chance again. I would like to, but just in case, I want to get all the questions. It's a lot of people. We announced this a couple weeks ago. I was flooded with questions, so we did the sadism. Um, what are some sadistic things you could do to somebody in everyday life?
In everyday life,
Non-kink.
not kink. I would say pranks. Pranks. That can be a level of sadism that messes with them and their emotions, and then they laugh it off afterwards.
That's true. Then we have the
A little
back to
bit of
pegging.
chaotic neutral over here.
Hello? What?
I said a little bit of chaotic neutral over here.
Yes, I'm all for chaos. Back to pegging. It always comes back to pegging. Why are men so obsessed with their assholes? Someone wants to know about your first time pegging someone ever. It's different for everybody. Were you nervous? Were you amped? Did you tell us all?
I absolutely was nervous. That's something I didn't start doing until about 3 years ago. It was during a session, and I had done all the research. I had done classes on it. I had gotten different inputs and sets of advice from people. And ultimately, I just treated it like I was fucking someone from the top. And I found that that worked for me after having done all the research on what lube to use, to put condoms on the toy for safety and for help ease of cleaning the toy, and stuff like that. But I was absolutely nervous. I wasn't sure how I was going to perform, but honestly, I think I should have been born with a dick sometimes.
um, After all of this, after all this cock and ball torture, after all this blood play, and after all this pegging, first of all, you must be exhausted. But still, there's aftercare. We have
Yeah.
to aftercare is involved. So I always say we must, everybody, including me, I always have to be mindful that we all have to be more mindful, right? So what are some ways that you make aftercare special? Not just a pat on the head or a hug or a kiss or whatever. What are some ways that Miss Sweet makes aftercare special?
Well, aftercare differs strongly between personal and professional. On the professional side, I make sure that they have water or a sweet beverage so as to hydrate them and bring up their blood sugar. If they don't want a sweet beverage, I have things like Andes mints, which I found 95% of people will not say no to Andes mints. And I sit there and just talk with them and see how they feel about what we just did together. Um, the emotions that it created, the thoughts that it created, what they most enjoyed, what they least enjoyed, and let them understand that it's okay to communicate those things and that they're in a safe place, and hug them and comfort them and give them whatever they need, whether it be just sitting there holding them or letting them go take a shower to go relax and kind of decompress. But those are all conversations had with each individual.
The commandant says granola
Granola
bar.
bars. Yeah, I don't like granola bars. I'm gluten free.
Oh no. Amir Sauce asks, Miss Sweet, what is your opinion about ignore play? Well, we can ignore that question. The commandant, granola bars. Stan Vladimir, what is the weirdest role playing session you have done?
Weirdest to me or weirdest to typical people?
I guess, whatever the first thing that comes to your mind.
Um, my enjoyment of weird would be having done um, a clown fear play, role play type scene. As far as non-enjoyable for me, I am strongly against, for my own person, I am hard limits on age play. Nothing against it for other people. It's not my thing. And one boy kept calling me mommy and talking about his baby dick, and that made things a little weird for me because it was not within my comfortability.
Yeah. Not my comfort zone either, but to each his own. Back to Amir, who said we would ignore. Your opinion about ignore play. Basically, some people find being ignored is a form of attention. Do you ever find that? Do you ever use that in your play?
I had one boy, actually a couple, but one that comes straight to mind that wanted me to, quote, abandon him, where I put him in a sleep sack and I attached my DB Labs Coyote Easton unit to him that was connected to the phone. It's a wireless connection to the Easton unit. And I put that on him and walked away and would occasionally play with it, changing the functions of the Easton unit while he was just laying there in this sleep sack, hooded, muffed, gagged, the whole 9 yards, and he absolutely loved it. There's parts of ignore play or abandonment play that are enjoyable, and it can be a sense of attention. And then there's other aspects that aren't so fun for me.
Yeah, that reminds me of a song by Momus called "Nobody," and it's about being ignored as a form of attention. And the line that really strikes a chord with me is "Stay nobody for no one else but me." When we pass, remember, make no sign, no evidence that you were ever mine. Stay nobody for nobody else but me. Sad song, beautiful though. Anyway, aftercare. Stan Vladimir says my favorite aftercare would be just me and my dom in a bed filled with kittens and puppies.
Aww. That
Okay, so
like
let's.
fun. They get the best smells.
So Miss Sweet, we announced the show. A sub of yours came to me. You have a following. people love you, and you're brutal as can be, but they still they still love you. So how does that happen? What, like, do you go to munches? It starts off online, as you said, right? Correct. But
It started off online.
so please
It was actually my following that got me to go pro in person, because I was just showing my work as a lifestyle dame for the longest time. And I had so many people that just kept asking me to play with them, and it just was not feasible from a lifestyle point of view. So I found myself a dungeon to work out of, and everything picked up from there 3 years ago for the in-person sessions versus virtual.
So you're in the dungeon. What is the key to basically maintaining a career in the dungeon? Because I've seen people come and go. I've seen people stay, in dungeons all over the country and stuff like that. What advice would you give to somebody who's basically wants to be a part of a dungeon, be a regular, like a regular dom, a person, an employee, basically, or if they're not an owner, what's the first time?
I don't employ people to be a successful pro dom, whether you own your own dungeon or you rent from another person. I would have to say, keep at it. It's not cheap. It's not quick money. You have to throw yourself out there. You have to constantly advertise. You have to interact with other people. You have to let them know that you're real, because they're not going to come to you if they think that you're just some scammer. And we all get that same question, no matter how much we're out there. But the more you're out there, the more you're seen, the more they believe you're real. And the more that they accept you, and they really enjoy seeing your work, not just you. I've seen too many that just show themselves and not their work. And it makes them have some questions.
We have some questions. IDK has a question. Do you incorporate chastity into CBT or pussy torture?
Yes,
you do.
That is the only way I like to use chastity, actually.
Please tell us more.
I love metal chastity cages. I use them specifically to electrify. I also have different chastity cages that have spikes. So if I arouse a boy that is in a chastity cage, he gets stabbed by the spikes. And it's great fun when you take them to, say, a strip club while they're wearing said spiked chastity cage, and have all the strippers give him lap dances.
That'll do it. That'll do it. Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. Inertia Force says, do you require that your male slaves be full body shaved?
If there is any blood play or fire play that is going to be involved, I absolutely require that they be hairless for their safety.
Stan Vladimir asks, have you done CBT sessions using a blood pressure pump?
No, I have not. That's actually a good idea. Thank you. Use that on someone's balls.
Yeah.
Great. Get like one of the adolescent-sized ones, so it really clamps people.
I'll do it. Now, do you ever find yourself going too far?
Things, but not that. I've even used escargot tongs.
Do you ever find yourself going too far? Like, you could do some severe damage, and you literally have to pull yourself back. And how do you know when to stop yourself? Like when you see it, like if you see it turning purple, for like, how long is too long? How much is too much blood? You know what I mean?
If I see it turning purple, like say when there's ball stretchers on there, I remove the ball stretchers, because that's affecting the blood flow to the balls, because you're extending the testicles down the scrotum and messing with the spermatic cords and the blood vessels that are inside there. And I don't ever want to cause someone to lose their testicles and their ability to be fertile, much less their lives. I've had moments where I've had to absolutely watch the clock because I do partake in castration play as a part of CBT. And that's where you start to question if it's getting too far, because it is easy to get carried away with time. So that's when you really have to watch the clock, because it's only safe and doesn't create potential permanent damage until you reach past that 15-minute mark.
Michael Brzezinski asks, regarding sacking a guy in the nuts, how valuable is it before a session to know his nut sacking history? Do people come with like nut sacking resumes of like,
No,
oh, I've been kicked by this person, and I've been kicked. Oh, you've been kicked by like
no,
references?
they don't come with resumes, but it is very important that they tell me what their pain scale or their pain threshold is.
Yeah.
How much pain they want to be in. Some guys only want a light kick or light tap or light little bit of slapping around. Some guys want to be punted across the street.
Now, after a typical, let's say a typical CBT session with you, how soon are they able to function again? Like, how soon are they able to use their cock again? I'm sure they could urinate and stuff like that. I'm talking for sex, for masturbation purposes, or for actual penetration. What is like the
I've
time?
stuck needles in a cock and had them jerk off as soon as the blood dried. There wasn't an issue with utility there.
Nice. Okay, we're gonna. Oh wait, which actor or actress would you like to have as your sub and or dom partner?
I definitely don't want to be dominated, but I would absolutely love to dominate Kate Beckinsale.
Oh yes, in the underworld, in that underworld get
Van
up.
Helsing.
What?
Van Helsing.
Oh yeah. Oh
Or in a
yes.
corset. Oh my God.
Oh yes. Michael has another question. If a guy has experienced getting sacked and nut sacked many times and gets a rupture, is it from one current blow, or did his nut sacking past finally catch up with him?
It's from the blow that caused the testicular rupture. It's not from your passive ball busting and ball kicking. It's
Yeah.
the one that caused it.
Although it may feel it, although you may still feel the kick in the balls from 10 years ago, I don't think, you know.
It
I'm
is
sure it doesn't help.
ball busting though.
I'm sure it doesn't help.
Same with testicular torsion.
Let's talk about your ultimate fantasy now. Let's say you have endless resources. You anybody you want, anywhere that you want. You could do anything. What do you do? Where do you do it? And with who?
Ultimate fantasy is interrogation play with torture, including a head box on their head. I think that is beyond hot. I'm talking about full body torture, not just the dangly bits.
There is a movie which I think you'd like. It's an old meaning like 80s, 90s. And it's called Boy Meets Girl. There's a lot of movies called Boy Meets Girl, but not like this. It's low budget. I think there's only like 3 or 4 people in it. It's basically about a guy who goes out in New York City or something like that, or in the town. Maybe it's LA, but meets a woman and thinks that he's gonna, have sex with her, and meanwhile she has other plans. She ties him to a medical, like a dentist chair, puts one of those boxes on him on his head, and does all this. And then it ends up being a horror movie, but it's kinky as fun. It's kinky as hell, and I think you'd like it. The whole movie is just this woman torturing this man.
I might have to look this up and masturbate to it later.
I think, you know what? I have a link. I can send it to you. I'll send a copy of it. Yeah, because I hope it's still active. But wow. Okay, that's great. All right. Rapid fire recommendations. They don't have to be kink related, but it helps. So I'm going to say recommend. I'm going to ask you to recommend things. They don't have to be the be all end all of who you are. It's just something that you like. So First up, recommend a film.
I would recommend Terrorizer.
Okay. Recommend a song.
Masochist by Elise.
Recommend a book.
I'm a huge fan of Iliad and the Odyssey by Homer.
Me too. Ithaca. I'm always trying to get home. You know what I mean? Definitely. Oh, you struck a nerve with me. That and Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, which is based on that, that film. Okay. Recommend art. Any kind of art, any medium, famous or not.
I am a huge fan of Van Gogh, especially his Almond Blossom or Starry Night on the Rhone.
Oh, yes, me too. Vincent Van Gogh is played by Willem Dafoe in a movie, which I haven't seen yet. I'm going to watch it tonight, actually. Okay, recommend a meal.
A meal.
A meal.
I would say tortilla española.
Ooh.
The Spanish dish.
Okay, we have some more questions. Amir says, Miss Sweet, do you enjoy food play? If yes, please share a memory about it with us. And my last question, what was your opinion about race play? So food play and race play, two totally different things.
Race play makes me uncomfy. It's not something I'm willing to do. As for food play, I love it for foot fetish. I like having boys lick off chocolate syrup or honey or whipped cream off of my little piggies.
No. Are your little piggies, do they have nail polish on them or no?
Yes, red.
Oh, right. Okay. So you put your beautiful little piggies in food and then they get licked off by your subs. What kind of food are you putting your feet into?
The chocolate syrup, whipped cream, or honey, like I described.
Anything else that comes to mind that you want? Like some people like pies.
I mean, if I'm going to do pie play, that's going to go more into clown play, where I'm going to pie them in the face.
Oh, okay. Keep the food kind of where it's supposed to be. Okay. Miss Sweet, as you said, you use chastity only to torture the cock. Do you like orgasm control and denial? Is that part of your sadism?
Oh, yes. I'm a terrible tease. I like sending boys home without orgasming. Just tease them and tease them and tease them and edge them and torture the ever-living crap out of them and send them home.
I'm going to use that as a quote, too. I like sending boys without orgasm. Yeah.
Just tease them for months on end before finally letting them find release. It's the best orgasm for them.
It's the only orgasm for them.
Because I just love teasing.
Oh, Amir, you got a fan. Amazing. All right, the word association game. Okay? I'm going to say a kink or a phrase. You say the first thing that comes into your head. Okay? So if I say chastity, you may say lock. But let's say you're thinking about clowns. If I say chastity, you could say clowns. There's no wrong answer. Okay? You ready?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Where to start? Pegging.
Asshole.
Garter belts.
Stockings.
Fire play.
Cups.
Splashing.
Jello.
Knife play.
Blood.
Scarification.
Ooh. Scalpel.
Face slapping.
Drilling slave.
Wax play.
Knife play.
Bastinado.
Feet.
Feet. Yes. The 50s housewife dynamic.
Reverse 1950s.
The teacher-student dynamic.
Secretary and boss.
Good movie. Good film. Good film. Splashing. Did I say that?
Yes.
Piss play.
Urinal.
And finally, we've reached the end. Scat.
No.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Bobby Lott asks, "How do you tease an edge?" It's a basic question, but a good question.
Um, Whatever gets them fired up and close to orgasm and not allowing them to orgasm, just stopping before they get too close to the edge.
I think what he's
That's like
asking
your
is,
orgasm.
how do you? What is one of your favorite ways to make someone to edge somebody?
Eastem. It forces the muscles down there to contract.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I said Eastem, electrical stimulation. It forces the muscles down there to contract if applied correctly.
And then Sunshine says, "Now I want to put tres leches between my toes."
Oh, that's my favorite cake.
My favorite cake too. I have tres leches downstairs. So I'm about to eat it.
Oh, I'm so
So
jealous.
we are wrapping it up, so we have some questions, but I always like to end it on a positive note. All right, and this is not the last question; it's one of them. But so throughout the years, I mean, you've kicked so many balls, you've tortured so many cocks and balls throughout the years. You have friends, you have a following. You know, um, what are some ways that kink has kind of helped you or saved your life? In many ways, kink saved my life. I had a liver transplant 2 years ago. I would not be here today if it wasn't for the kink community, the kinky people in my life. So basically, I'm asking you, how has kink saved your life?
It helped me come out of my shell and regain my power. I was a very shy and timid person for a long time, and a lot of that had to do with past experiences. And once I found my place in kink, it rejuvenated me as a person. And it gave me a drive and motivation that nothing else has ever done. And ultimately, I just like beating people up.
Yeah, I find peace in that, and I really do, peace and pain almost in some ways. So you know how kink helped you and helped saved you, and you know how it saved me, but now we have to save each other's. We have to save each other's life. You are teaching, which is a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful, noble thing. It seems like the Wild West. It seems like out there people are getting kicked off of Eros. Twitter is now X. You don't know what platform to go on anymore. So what can an average kinky person do to help another kinky person out?
Advocacy. Advocacy is absolutely the best thing you can do, as well as helping create kinky outlets for their fellow kinksters.
Yes. Yes. I love it. And Miss Sweet, finally, we have reached the end. We're on this path. As much as you are a teacher and an educator, you're still learning yourself. I am too. Where do you want this path to take you? Where do you want your kinky path to take you?
Um, I want to broaden my already broad scope of kinks. I started my time as an experimentalist, and I think I'll end my days as an experimentalist. There's always more to learn and improve. I also hope to continue to learn from those that I saw and still see as my kinky role models and idols. It was fascinating to learn from Danorama, and I hope to one day be able to personally learn from Hardy Haberman.
Who else are some of the role models and idols that we should give flowers to?
Huh?
Who are some of the other role models that you've had, the people that you look up to that should be recognized, that we should talk about and give thanks to? Give us.
Um, Danorama is a very great educator. I would say more locally, I absolutely admire X of Dallas or Nomad and Kalita. Or if we want to go more international again, I would say Midori or Hardy Haberman. They're all great role models in these things that we call kink and the lifestyle.
Bobby Lott says, "Thank you for creating this channel. It's tough when you can't always be open about kink." Bobby.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. You're one of us, Bob. Thank you. Dan Vladimir says, outside of the workplace, outside of kink, what hobbies do you have? We're all kinky, but we are people. We all do different things. What do you like to do?
I train in Krav Maga. I
Mm,
played D&D, and I'm an avid hiker.
And how can we get in touch with you? How can people get in touch with Miss Sweet? Please promote everything and anybody you want to promote.
How to get in touch with me? I have my own website, sadisticsweet.net. I also have Twitter, Trist, and FetLife. I have a Pinksters account, but they've been a little up and down on their service, so that's been a little weird. I have Dickie Virgin.
Well, thank you very, very much, Mrs. Sweet. Everybody, please support us. Your kinky friends. Subscribe, like on YouTube. We're on Spotify, YKF, Your Kinky Friends on Spotify. Subscribe to that. Leave reviews, positive reviews. Please buy my books. I wrote 3 books. The Coolest Way to Kill Yourself, Chip Black Nail Polish, Your Kinky Friends, all true stories filled with hard drugs, kinky sex, and an endless amount of music references. Check them out. Yeah, do something for the culture. And remember, everybody, never waste the dom's time. And the cardinal rule: be cool, be kind, keep an open mind. Have a great night.
Thank you.